So this is how it's going to work today. I'm going to start by asking you some questions. We're going to have a bit of a quiz. I like a bit of a quiz, so we're going to do a bit of a quiz. Then I'm going to give you the choice of what I'm going to talk about, and there might be at the end 5 minutes for questions at the end. So we will get on and we will start the quiz. There are going to be 3 different questions. I'm going to get you to put your hands up. We're going to see, is there anyone who gets all 3 of the questions right? A little bit of a challenge here. So the first question, you've been online and you've ordered yourself a specially made t-shirt that says, Martin Lewis is a sexy fish. Don't ask me why. To be fair, I'm thinking of getting a restraining order. So, you've ordered it, it comes home, it's not faulty, it's the right size, you put it on, don't you, sir, and it's a little bit tight around the bosom, yes? Yes. So you decide that you want to send it back. What I would like to know is, what are your legal rights? Not the shop's rights, your legal statutory rights under the Consumer Contracts Act, as it happens. Remember, you've ordered it, Martin Lewis sexy fish. It's not faulty, it's the right size, it's just not really what you like. So do you have a legal right to return it, but you must send it back within 14 days? B, a legal right to return it, but you must send it back within 28 days, or C, no legal right to return it. So have a think, go among yourselves. Not allowed to talk, no talking, no conferring. We're going to do this by show of hands. Don't look at other people. Don't think, oh, I'm the only one putting my hand up. They're probably all wrong. Okay, so here, who thinks it's A? You have a legal right to return it and you've got 14 days. Ooh, about 40% of the audience, I think. Who thinks it's B, a legal right to return it? You've got 28 days. Slightly bigger, about 50%. And who thinks you have no legal right to return it? Oh, actually, no, maybe it was a third and a third and a third. Under the Consumer Contract Regulations, if you buy something online, unlike bought in store, remember, anything you buy in store, you have no legal right to return it unless it's faulty. But you buy online, you do have an automatic right to change your mind once goods arrive. Now, the rules state, listen to this and know this, because many stores' websites get this wrong, and we're in the middle of a campaign to make sure that they correct it at the moment. You have up to 14 days to notify them that you're sending it back, and up to 14 days after you've notified them to send it back, which would mean a maximum of 28 days, which would be B. If you had not specifically ordered this t-shirt, the one exemption to that rule are personalized or perishable items. This was a personalized items. For some bizarre reason, Martin Lewis is a sexy fish is not something that's commonly sold, so you've had to order it yourself, and therefore, who put the hands up for C? Well done to all the C's, you're in 1 for 1. Shall we move on to the next one? Because actually, I did this based on something that happened to me as I was walking in today. I was coming in and there was older, that's the phrase, isn't it? There was an older lady out there and she had her credit card out and she was going to the cash machine just down the road there. She looked a little worried, she saw me and she went, oh, I'm so glad it's you. So, because I really need, I need some help and I need, would you be able to help me? And I said, what do you want me to do? She said, I need you to help me check my balance. So I pushed her over, and let's get on to the real question. The question, you've got £1,000 debt on the credit card. The credit card is a high street credit card with an APR. What does APR stand for? Annual percentage rate, giving you a clue, has an annual percentage rate of 20%. Actually, it's more like these days, 25%. They've put them all up, but I've done 20% because I'm kind and it makes the maths a little bit easier. You are paying off £999. You've got £1,000 on it, you're paying off £999. There is nothing else on the card. How much interest would you expect to pay at the end of the month? A, 1 or 2 pence. B, £15. C, £200. So £1,000 debt on the credit card, you're paying off £999. The APR is 20%. How much interest do you think you'll pay? I'll give you a second. Okay, so who thinks it's A, 1 or 2 pence? I'm waiting because the nervous hand's going up. Who thinks it's B, £15? Who thinks it's C, £200? The biggest one is C at the end. That's definitely not correct. So look, £1,000 on a 20% interest rate, but it's a 20% annual interest rate. This is over 1 month. So it's never going to be the 20% of 1,000 because that would be over a year and this is over a month. So it's definitely not C. Now, there's an important thing. Let's just check. Does anyone know what my catchphrase is? I've glossed them already. Look, they've gone. Does anyone know what my catchphrase is? In full. And there's a very specific reason for that. And this question is the reason why. If you have £1,000 debt on a credit card and you pay off £1,000, no interest. You have £1,000 debt on a credit card and you pay off £999, you don't pay interest on the pound, you pay interest on the entire £1,000 for the month. That's why it is pay off in full, not nearly in full, not pay off as much as you possibly can. It is pay off in full because it's only by paying a card off in full that you don't pay interest. You still pay interest on the entire amount. Now, if you were paying a 20% APR moved into a monthly term, on £1 it would have been 1 or 2 pence, but it's not, because you're paying the interest on the entire £1,000. So you would actually pay £15, which is what 20% when you go over a monthly figure and all sort of works out, be about 15 quid, which is why the in full is so important. This is why, and you've got to understand with credit cards, I talk about 2 different ways. There are 2 different functions of a credit card. The first function is as a debt card. It's a borrowing card. You need to borrow money. If you're doing that, you want to try and preferably have it at 0%. Maybe 0% on you spending it, maybe 0% on shifting debts from other cards to you. But you want it to be at 0%. If you're borrowing money, by definition, you won't be paying off in full. You'll be paying interest, so we need to minimize the interest. The other function of a credit card is as a transaction card, a spending card. And we like it as a transaction card for 2 reasons. First of all, you get Section 75 protection. Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act says if you buy something on a credit card and it costs over £100 up to £30,000, the credit card company is jointly liable with the retailer. Jointly liable. In other words, if it goes wrong, you have exactly the same rights as the retailer. Now this, and this is the big powerhouse you need to understand, this works regardless of how much you put on the credit card. So I always tell the story of a woman who bought a kitchen. The kitchen was, I think it was about 13 grand on the kitchen. She had paid 100 quid on the credit card. The rest she had paid by a bank transfer. The kitchen company went bust. She went to the credit card company. She said, well, I put it on the credit card. What money are you going to give me back? They, of course, said, nothing. But she read my guide, she went to the financial ombudsman and was correctly awarded the entire amount. And in fact, damages because their credit card company had handled it bad. The whole £13,000, even though she'd only put 100 quid on the credit card. So spend a penny. Spend a penny. If you have to, put 1p of your big important purchase on a credit card and the other £3,000, pay how you like. Then the credit card company is liable. There are some causal breaks in that which goes through. So we want transactions on a credit card is good and is useful and is important. You may also get rewards or cash back when you spend on a credit card, which also helps. But that's why, and that's when the in full rule comes. Because if you don't do it in full, you're going to pay interest. Nearly in full is not in full. It's either in full or it's not in full. There is no in between. Let's go on to our third question. Who is on 100%? Who's got them both right? Okay, I'm watching you. So, third question. You have, let me just double check. I wrote this one last night. Haven't got my glasses. You have gone to a brand new comparison site called seriouslyconfused.com. You have put your details in, and you have been shocked to discover that for your car insurance, the price the comparison site is showing you is half the price of your renewal from the same company, from the same policy. The company you've got your insurance with is coming up on the comparison side at half the cost. So, I would like to know which of these is the legally correct position if that happens. A, you can go and get the renewal, you can go and renew at your existing company, and you can force them to reduce it to the price of the comparison site because the law has changed, and on insurance, existing customers should now be given the same price as new customers. B, you can go via the comparison site and get the cheaper price because they have to allow you to do that because the law has changed, because existing customers should not be charged more than new customers. Or C, you can't force them to lower the price. So, you got the scenario, you've gone via comparison site, it's exactly the same company, exactly the same policy, it's just cheaper via the comparison side. A, to enforce the existing customers cheaper than new, same as new customers rule, do you have to go and renew through the company and then get them to lower it? B, do you have to do it through the comparison site? Or C, do you have no actual right? Who thinks it's A? Renew through the company. Okay, quarter of you. Who thinks it's B? Okay, you go via the comparison site. Who thinks it's C? You have no actual right. Now, there is a new law in place to get rid of the loyalty penalty. What happens is, for years in car insurance is this: you get your car insurance price, and then if you're just renewing, they have walked it up. It's called price walking. Year by year, they walk it up 20, 30, 40 quid. And before you know it, you're paying 50% more than a new customer. So they brought in a brand new regulation that says you can't do that. You have to charge existing customers the same as new customers. But that law, and this is really important to understand, is channel specific. Now, what that means is they have to charge existing customers the same as new customers who have gone through the same channel. So, if you go direct, it must be the same direct. If you went through a specific comparison site, not comparison sites, a specific comparison sites, it must be the same as new customers going through that specific comparison site. The comparison site you used in the question was a new one. So by definition, you could not have got your existing car insurance through it in the first place. Therefore, the existing customers must be charged the same as new customers rule does not apply. So the correct answer here, because they can refuse you if you went from the comparison site price, they generally wouldn't, but they could, is C. You do not have a right to the cheaper price. I would be pushing it. I would be going and trying to do it relatively hard. But this, I get so many people who say to me, excuse me, you said that existing customers couldn't be charged more than new customers, and I've just been and seen that they're doing exactly that. What are my rights? And then I asked them, and they say, well, I went direct, and now I'm going by a comparison site. You don't have the right, because it's channel specific, and it's important you understand that. It's a loophole, because it actually means what insurers can do is they can target different pricing on different sites, right? Because they know that they're not going to be cannibalizing most of their existing customers if they bring the price down. Now, when we're on, in fact, let's just do, before I've got more on car insurance. Hands up if you got all three. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, we give them a round of applause. Well done to the four of you. That's very impressive. All the questions have catches deliberately, otherwise they wouldn't be interesting, would they? That's the point. So let's just talk car insurance. What's happening to car insurance prices at the moment? Going up or going down? Wrong. Down. Down. And this is important, and there's a warning about them going down. Why is he saying a warning about them going down? Going down's good. Well, yes, it is. Car insurance prices year on year are down an average of 19%. Car insurance prices over the past 5 years are up 60%. So what we have at the moment is an 18% drop in car insurance prices. Why do you need to know that? Simple. We're so used to car insurance renewal comes in, car insurance renewal is 20% higher, person swears. That's the scenario, isn't it? This is what's happening this year. Car insurance renewal comes in. Oh, it's the same price as last year. That's good, isn't it? No, it's not good. Don't be complacent. The market is down 18%. You should not be going, oh, my renewal's the same price as it was last year, that's good. You should be going, my renewal is the same price as last year, I'm being overcharged by 18% compared to what's happening on the market. So the reason for me giving you this warning about car insurance is to say that when your renewal comes in, when the price is dropping, you want to be seeing an actual drop in the price. And if your renewal's coming in at the same price or only a few quid lower, then don't sit there and automatically renew. You still need to go onto a comparison site, preferably combine the comparison sites and do all the tricks. And the thing I can say here that I can't say on telly, the best one is my Compare Plus that tells you all this and goes through in detail on moneysavingexpert.com. So go and have a go at doing that. So that's car insurance. That's the quiz done. Well done everybody who played it. Now we're going to get on to the democratic bit. Let me see my list. Here's how it works. I'm going to give you a choice of subjects for me to talk about. Okay? So we'll give you a choice, you get to vote on it. Now the first subject is between talking about cash ISAs and the end of the cash ISA year or student finance. You get to choose. Now I'm so thankful to Ideal Home this year, who when we've talked about how I do this democratic bit, I asked them if they'd invest a bit. So I'm afraid it's only for those seated. If those of you who are sat, if you just look below your seats right now, you'll find there's nothing there. That's what you get for seating when everybody else is standing. So here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to give you a choice of subjects. One of them will be a buzz, and one of them will be a bing. Let's have a practice now. Give me a buzz. Give me a bing. There we are. So cash ISAs is going to be a buzz. Student finance is going to be a bing. You're going to do it on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, definitely a buzz. Definitely a buzz. That one's quite easy. Right, so let's talk about cash ISAs. Cash ISAs are back. Interest rates have gone up. They're not huge, but interest rates have gone up, which means people are more liable to pay tax. A cash ISA, my easy way to explain, in fact, ISAs generally. Imagine now, and I could have actually got one being in Ideal Home, I could have done that. I've got a huge chocolate cake here. And I've got a huge strawberry cake here. Chocolate begins with a C, it's cash. Strawberry begins with an S, it's shares. Not the most sophisticated analogy, but we'll go with it. Now, the problem with putting your money in in normal savings is you take a slice of the cake, there's the cake, you can also see the cake, yeah? It's not really there. So I've got the cake here. Normally, someone from the tax office can come along, take a bite out of your interest. We don't pay tax on savings, we pay tax on the interest you earn on savings. That's the problem. Now, an ISA isn't a product. It's not a product. It's a wrapper. So I want you to imagine now that I've got a piece of cling film. You can see the cling film's more difficult to see because it's see-through. So I've got a big piece of cling film here. You can all see it. I get £20,000 worth of cling film per tax year. All that happens now is I go along to my chocolate cake, my cash, and I wrap the cling film around £20,000 of that cake. I pick the cake up. The cake is still the same. It's just a savings account. It's not changed. It's still what's just inside a wrapper. The only difference now is tax office can't bite it anymore. And that is the definition of an ISA. It's not a product, it's a wrapper. It's a wrapper you put around £20,000 of cash or £20,000 of shares that protects it from paying tax. Underneath it, people often get confused. You know, they say to me, I don't want to put money in the cash ISA because I don't want to lock it away. No! It's just a savings account you don't need to pay tax on. There are easy access versions where you can take your money out whenever you want. There are fixed versions where you're locking them away. There's regular saving versions. It's just a savings account that you don't pay tax on. So that's the first thing that we need to understand about cash ISAs. Where this gets more complicated is, do you pay tax on savings interest? So 3 things you need to know to decide that. Number 1, most people, unless you're a higher earner, have a personal allowance. How much is a personal allowance, the basic one? £12,570. Typically, it can alter with various, if you're an employee and you get other types of things, but let's go £12,500. So most people can earn up to £12,570 a year, and you don't pay tax on it from any source, whether it's from earnings, whether it's from savings interest, whatever else. Then you also get a personal savings allowance, your PSA. Now that means as a basic 20% rate taxpayer, so if you're earning above the personal allowance, you can earn £1,000 a year of interest without being taxed on it. So that's 20% tax you're saving on £1,000. What's the gain? 20% of 1,000? Someone said it. £200. So the gain's £200. If you're a higher 40% rate taxpayer, you only get a £500 personal savings allowance, and you're saving 40% on it. What's 40% of 500? Still £200. The gain is the same. That's why the numbers work. Just that's making a point. For a top rate taxpayer earning over 125 grand a year, you don't get one of these. So you don't get it. So now you've got £1,000 or £500 that you can earn in interest tax-free each year. Let's just make a point about that. The top paying easy access account at the moment is 4.75%. To earn £1,000 of interest at 4.75%, you'd need 21 grand in it. As a high rate taxpayer, you need 10.5 grand. So if you've got way less than 21 grand, you're not paying tax on your savings anyway. Right? And that's the point. Now there's a final one. Has anyone heard of the starting rate of savings? Okay, this is an important one. And this is the one that nobody talks about. Now this is only really relevant for lower earners, and often many pensioners who have low income but are trying to live off their savings. This is really relevant. This is a £5,000 special savings allowance where you can earn an extra £5,000 a year of interest tax-free. It's complicated. I'm going to try and explain it as simply as I can. So, if you earn less than the personal allowance on earnings, you get this £5,000 starting savings allowance that you can earn in savings interest tax-free. So that means you can earn up to £12,570 in earnings, and then you've got £5,000 in savings interest on top tax-free, and you've got your personal savings allowance of £1,000. 12,570 plus 5,000 plus 1,000, £18,570 you could earn without paying tax on it in a combination of earnings and savings. For every £1 you go above the 12,570 in earnings, you lose £1 of your starting savings allowance. So if you go, I know these are simple questions I'm going to give you, but I'm trying to drill it in so it makes sense. If you go to 13,570, how much above the personal allowance are you? 1,000. So how much of your starting savings allowance do you lose? 1,000. So now you have a 4,000 starting savings allowance, and you've still got the personal savings allowance on top. So your starting savings allowance effectively works until you get to income of 17,570, which is 5,000 above, when you will have lost it totally, and then you just have the personal savings allowance. Just worth knowing about that one. So those are your three main tax-free allowances that can apply to savings. You can also put up to £50,000 a year in the premium bonds, not a year. You can also put up to £50,000 in premium bonds. So whether you pay tax on savings or not is a question. Now the cash ISA, I say it's a savings account that's tax-free, but it's actually more than that, because interest from a cash ISA does not count towards your personal allowance, does not count towards your personal savings allowance, does not count towards the starting savings allowance. It is a totally extra allowance you get on top, and that's why it's important. Now the key thing to ISAs is once you put money in, it stays in tax-free year after year until you take it out. So imagine you put in £20,000 this year, right now. The year ends on the 5th of April, so you'd have to do that quickly. I've got £20,000 in. Then the next tax year starts on the 6th of April. I put another £20,000 in. I've now got £40,000 in. The year after, the 6th of April the following year, unless Rachel Reeves drops the allowance, you can put another £20,000 in. So now I've got £60,000 in cash ISAs all protected. If I had been doing that for the previous decade, I could easily have £200,000, £300,000 in a cash ISA as an extra allowance protected from interest. That is the importance of a cash ISA. Now, not everybody needs it because you might not pay tax on savings, but if you do need it, it's important to do it before the 5th of April. Now we move on. That's your principle. That's the philosophy. That's the technical structure of how it works and who should get it focused on the tax. But currently, and for the last 6 months it's been like this, but for the prior 6 years it wasn't like this, the top paying easy access, where you can take your money out when you want to, cash ISAs pay more than the top paying easy access normal savings accounts. So if you want an easy access account, even if you won't have any tax benefit from a cash ISA, well, you may as well open a cash ISA because it pays more. The interest is higher. So as it stands right now, I should be more technical, as it stood an hour ago, these are the top cash ISA easy access rates. And I need to, that as it stood an hour ago is really important. On Tuesday, it was hilarious. So it was wonderful. Normally when you're doing broadcasting, the restriction, I'm never allowed to talk about money saving experts. So I have to sort of tell these stories and hedge around it, but I can be really straight here. So because we were doing this in my weekly email that goes to 8 million people, right, and I was doing it in my telly show on Tuesday night, and obviously you're fact checking with the company so the companies know you're doing it. On Tuesday morning, the top paying easy access cash ISA was 5.02%. Then one came in at 5.03%, knowing that we were doing it, and they saw what was best because it wanted to be top of the best buy table. Then when we did that, the one that was at 5.02% came in at 5.04% and said we're up. The one that was 5.03% said, well, we'll do 5.2%. Another one then came in and said, well, we'll do 5.7 changes in the day. So by the end of the day, the top rate was 5.25% because they knew they're trying to jemmy the best buy tables. Now, this is interesting. There is serious manipulation going on of best buy tables at the moment. You need to be careful what sources you're using for your information because they may not tell you this. Currently, you have 4 providers, Trading 212, Chip, Moneybox, and Plum, who are jemmying the best buy tables because their rate includes 3-month introductory bonuses that will drop after 3 months. Right? So you get the higher rate for 3 months. So the best at the moment of those is Trading 212. It has an underlying rate of 4.5%, but a 3-month newbies bonus of 0.75%. So the rate that's in the best buy tables is 5.25%, but in reality, it's more like 4.5%. You've got another one that is also 5.25%, but its underlying rate is 4%. So if you're happy to go for that short-term bonus, and it's not bad, then 5.25% is fine. The top paying easy access account that doesn't have a bonus is Tembo, T-E-M-B-O. All these have full UK £85,000 saving safety protection. That's 4.8%, but easy access is variable. They can always move the rate. The top paying name you will have heard of, unless you're a nerd like me, is Post Office. 4.4%. Very interesting, this. So it's 4.4%, but that includes a 1-year fixed bonus of 3.15%. Now, there are 2 ways to look at that 1-year fixed bonus. Way number 1, crap. In a year's time, the rate's going to plummet and I'm going to have to transfer it elsewhere to keep the rate high. Yeah, you understand? Way number 2, okay. So the worst thing that could happen to me this year is the rate drops to 3.15%. I've effectively got a guaranteed rate of 3.15% for a year, and then I'm going to have to move it. So it depends on your attitude. So now, I've given you 3 different rates. I've given you the bonus rate, I've given you the plain rate, but it's variable, and I've given you the post office rate, which is partly variable and partly fixed. Who here would feel comfortable choosing between them and can make a decision for yourselves? And who is going, I'm not sure which to get? Yeah, you're comfortable. Who's not sure which to get? Which I think is most people. So I'm going to give you the honesty here. Doesn't really matter. They're far better than most rates out there. Just go for one of them and monitor the rate. Don't have that analysis paralysis, which is what affects so many people. I can't do questions at one-on-one questions today, I'm afraid, but about half the questions I normally get when people come to see me is they spend about 3 minutes telling me the logical process that they've got, which generally follows what I've written, to get to the final point, and they're going, so should I do it? And it's analysis paralysis. They've done all the thinking, they've thought of everything they need to do, but they're just scared of taking the final step. So I've given you 3 rates. They're all good. Don't not do them because you can't work out which one you want. If you have to, just put a dart in it. And many of you will have existing cash ISAs that pay far lower rates. Transfer them. Don't take your money out. Transfer, open a new one and ask it to transfer the provider in and come across on that basis to increase the rate. While we're on it, we'll just do fixes, cash ISA fixes. So the top normal fixes are about 4.6%. The top cash ISA fixes are about 4.5%. So it's the opposite here. If you haven't got a tax gain, you're better off in a normal fix where you're locking your money away and you're getting a guaranteed rate. It's not variable. There is one difference between a cash ISA fix and a normal fix. Normal fix, money locked away. You can't take it out. Yeah? Can't do that with a cash ISA fix. The laws don't allow them. They have to allow you to access the money. Generally, you access the money by closing the account within the term. There will usually be an interest rate penalty of 90 or 180 days interest. In other words, you're probably not going to get much interest. But if you're sitting there going, I want a guaranteed fixed rate, I'm 99% sure that I'm not going to need to access the money in the time. But there is this 1% little eventuality, you know, if my daughter says she's getting married, which I don't think she will for 3 years, but if she does, I might need the money in the next year, that you've got a get out of jail free card in a cash ISA that you don't have in a fixed rate normal savings account. That's worth doing. Do you know what? I can see there's lots of, I might just do a couple of questions on this before I move on to something else. Does anyone have any questions? Have we got a mic where we are? Oh, there we go. Do you want to chant that? It's the perverse yield curve that we have at the moment. So, fixes, whether they be mortgages or savings, are not, the lenders and savings providers don't set them based on UK base rates. Variable rates move with the UK, the Bank of England base rate, yeah? Fixed rates move with the swap rates. Forget what that means. Fixed rates move with the city's long-term predictions of what is going to happen to interest rates, right? Because of course, if you're fixing over 2 years, you're a bank, you're trying to cover your costs. So the current prediction is interest rates are not going to drop as quickly as we thought they were going to drop because inflation is up and all the other things that's going on. Inflation's likely to still get inflationary pressures. So they're not coming down. And then it's likely to settle and likely to stay roughly the same over the next year or 2 years. So the breaks goes that way. I mean, if you go longer out, longer fixes are worse rates because the prediction is rates will come down over a longer period. So it's not a simple question as if you fix longer, do you get rewarded for it? It's about mapping the fix compared to the long-term predictions of interest rates. I'll do 2 more ISA questions. If you have them all, we'll move on. Anybody else? There's a lady over there. And let's, yeah, on the mic's work. And one more I'll pick now, and we'll do this chap here, and then we'll stop. Okay.
Archie, we're just about to sell our house.
Congratulations.
And we haven't got a new one yet.
Yeah.
We want to put our money somewhere. Should you suggest splitting it and putting it in ISAs or in a different account?
It's okay, so I'm not going to ask you in the public, but I'm going to assume you're selling your house for £500,000. Like, okay, they weren't meant to say. I was trying to protect you. Okay, so let's take £500,000. So the first thing is, I'm going to do the jumping again. You've got a partner, a husband, somewhere, okay, fine. So there's 2 of you, right? So if you sold it today, you could put £20,000 in a cash ISA and your husband could put £20,000 in the cash ISA. That's £40,000. Plus, on the 6th of April, you can put £20,000 in the cash ISA and your husband can put £20,000 in the cash. So we've got 80 grand covered, yeah? Because you're going to be paying tax on this if you put it in the right accounts. But there's something really interesting about selling a house that most people don't know. You probably know that when you put money in a savings account, you're protected up to £85,000 per person per institution. Yes, do you know that rule? That's the saving safety rule. There is a life events exemption, right? Which says any of a significant life event, selling your house, selling your business, getting an inheritance would be the 3 big ones I would name. You are protected up to £1 million in one account for 6 months. Right, you don't have to spread it because you get up to £1 million protection in one account. Now, you can't do it in cash ISAs, but for the rest of the money, you would be safe to put the rest of the money in the highest rate account that you can get, normal savings account, because I presume you're going to be buying somewhere, so you want access to the cash, in the highest rate savings account that you can get elsewhere, for 6 months. So you've got 6 months to think, okay, after that, you're going to need to spread it in different accounts to keep it protected. So that would be roughly where it'd be going. Does that make sense? Good, I'm glad. And then this chap here, I think.
Hi, Martin. What about flexible ISAs?
A flexible ISA, I think it's overdone, the flexible ISA. I mean, there are other types of funky ISAs like AIM ISAs, which can give you some inheritance tax benefits on a higher risk investment that you're going on. And there's innovative ISAs, which don't really exist that much anymore because they're about peer-to-peer that's gone. The flexible ISA is really a function of a normal ISA that allows you within the tax year to take your money out and put it back in again. And so So normally the rule is you can put up to £20,000 in a cash ISA. It's the put in that counts. What you take out is irrelevant. So the standard rule would be, I've put £15,000 in the cash ISA. I've taken 5,000 out. I can only put another further £5,000 in. The fact I've taken out is irrelevant. In a flexible ISA, I've taken 5,000 out. I can put that back in. So it gives me a slight addition, but it's a provider. Not every provider has to offer it. It's an option they can offer. To be fair, in my experience, most people putting money into cash ISAs are putting it away for the long term, not putting it away as a usable account. So I think it works in that way. Okay, your next choice. Are you ready for your buzz and your bing? What on earth is happening with energy bills is buzz. What on earth is happening with water bills is bing. It's a utility fight. Think of the Monopoly board. Which one are you going to buy? Okay, so buzz is energy, bing is water. 1, 2, 3. The energy price cap always needs explaining because people don't get it. The energy price cap dictates the price that energy firms can set on their standard tariffs, standard default tariffs. If you're on a fix, if you're on a special tariff, you are not on the energy price cap. Currently, 2/3 of homes in England, Scotland and Wales, it doesn't apply to Northern Ireland, are on a price cap tariff, which means the regulator, Ofgem, is setting the price you pay. So who here is on a price cap tariff? Who's not on a price cap tariff? And who's not put the hand up because they just not sure? The majority of you, to be honest, and you're not even sure whether you know whether you put your hand up or not. I don't know how that works. Okay. So look, if you're not sure, 99% you're on a price cap tariff. So assume you are. Now, on the 1st of April, the energy price cap is rising another 6.4% on top of the 1.2% it rose in January, on top of the 10% it rose in October. So those are cumulative rises. The price is going up. So that price is going to rise. The energy price cap moves every 3 months. So it will then change again in July and in October and in the following January. The assessment period that Ofgem uses to calculate the energy price cap, there is a time lag. We're already 1 month into the assessment period for July. The good news is because there's some warmness over Ukraine, some warmness, I'm not making a political statement, wholesale energy prices, the price that the energy companies pay, have dropped a little. So while a month ago the predictions were it was going to go up again in July, now the prediction is it's going to come down around 6 or 7% in July, and then up a fraction in October, up a fraction in January. Now I need to warn you, we're only 1 of 3 months through the assessment period. The world is volatile, I don't need to tell you that, in the Middle East and in Ukraine, and this is based on global prices, so you have to take that volatility into account. And certainly once I start talking October or January, it is very, ooh, crystal ball, ooh. Right, we're in crystal ball type period. But, so that means something interesting. Let's try and draw this graph for you. I do bring my own. Here we are. So we're here right now. We're going up 6.4% in April. Then we're coming down in July, if the predictions are right, to roughly the price that you're paying now. And then we're going up only a smidgen in October and going up only a smidgen in January. Those are the predictions. They're not my predictions. They're the analyst predictions. It could all change. So if you look on that basis, we're going to have a hump in April, then come back down. So the question is, what tariff should you be on? Well, there are a number of choices. I'm going to stick with the simple ones. I'm not going into the sort of time of use tariffs, the complicated ones. The cheapest fix on the market has actually got cheaper because those wholesale rates have got cheaper. A bit like we talked earlier, fixes aren't based on the current, fixes are based on long-term predictions. Same in energy. So the cheapest fix on the market, here's the current price cap. It's going to be really difficult to do with a microphone. And then I'm going to do this without a mic, but I'm going to put the mic, just live with me. Right, okay, current price cap, cheapest fix is 7% below. In April, this is going up. So it's now 13% below. It's then coming back down, so it's about 6% below, then it's going up. So if you all managed to hear that, yeah? So if the predictions are right, Fixing now at 7-8% below the current cap, which is the cheapest, don't just fix with your energy firm, get the cheapest fix. If you're locking in, lock in at the cheapest price, is a no-brainer. Because it's certainly going to save you immediately, it will definitely save you in April, and the predictions are it will save you afterwards. Now, because of the volatility that we have in the market, you may say, but hold on, what about if prices really drop? You know, if please God, we have peace in Ukraine and the world order starts to restore a little bit and worldwide energy price, I mean, it would be wonderful. And I would love the fact that you fixed and got it wrong because we have peace in the world and energy prices have come down. I'd be delighted to be wrong about that. It's not what's currently predicted, but let's hope, eh? So if that were to happen, you would have to pay an early exit penalty to get out of the fix. So one other option you could look at is the cheapest no early exit fee fix is about 2% below current prices. So you could lock in there, you'd definitely save in April, and if prices really came down or you wanted to get a much cheaper fix coming in October, then you would be risk averse and you could just ditch then at absolutely no cost to you. They would be the main options I would be looking at the moment, but you should be doing something. The price cap is a pants cap. I mean, it's there to be a fair price, but a fair price is not a good price, and it's not actually a particularly fair price either, for that matter. So I would be getting out of that. Whether you want to go, I'm just going to go for the cheapest now, or whether you want to go, I'm going to go for the cheapest that gives me some flexibility to change my mind, is a personal decision. But again, no analysis paralysis. Do something, go and sort it out, use my cheap energy club. It will give you all these predictions and all the prices that when you're going in there. Although, I shall phrase this carefully. I probably wouldn't do anything until next Tuesday when you get my email. Let's just say that, but I can't quite guarantee I'm right to say that yet, but I'm waiting to hear later today. We'll do any questions on energy while we're at it. Anyone's got any quick questions on energy? I'm looking around. Let me see where I am on times. Oh, you know what? I'm out of time. I'm going to do 2 anything questions, right? Because I'll explain why in a moment. I can't stay and ask her questions afterwards. There's a lady there. You got one more. Those two. The lady there and the lady in the pink and white.
Fantastic. Sorry, I'm going to lean over.
I'll have a seat.
Thank you. If I was to inherit a property that has been rented previously, and that value of that property is below the threshold, the 325 personal threshold, we don't have anything to pay.
So when you inherit, it is the total value of your estate that matters.
So that's all that person.
Oh, someone just dropped a cuddly toy on you.
That's all they own. They don't have any other.
They don't have it. So if someone inherits and their only asset is a £300,000 house, £300,000 is less than £325,000, there is nothing to pay.
Okay, even if it's been rented.
I don't give a monkeys. How much is the asset worth? Okay. I wasn't being rude. I'm just saying. The asset value is what counts. If it's less than 325,000, there's nothing to pay. Who worries about inheritance tax? So what we'd say, it's about half the audience. What percentage of the UK estates pay inheritance tax? 6%. So massively over worried about inheritance tax. Just let's think of it this way. If you've got less than £325,000, there's no inheritance tax. If you are leaving your home to your direct descendants, children, stepchildren, adopted children, foster children, grandchildren, stepchildren, adopted grandchildren, foster grandchildren, your direct descendants, and you're leaving your home, there's another £175,000 on top. This is unless you've got over a 2 million estate. So that's 500,000 now, yeah? 500,000. If you're married or civil partnership, living together doesn't count. It's the major tax benefit of marriage, this one. So I've got my £500,000. I die. Shame. Thanks. I die. Yes, you can come again. So I die. I've left everything to my wife. So first of all, there's no inheritance tax on something you leave to your spouse. There is. If you're living someone with 20 years and have 12 kids, there's inheritance tax if you're not married or in a civil partnership. So I give her everything. But she doesn't just get to inherit everything tax-free. She also gets to inherit my unused allowance. Well, I've left everything to her, so I have £500,000 of unused allowance, providing I'm giving my direct home. So now, when she dies, 500 plus 500 is £1 million. She has £1 million, including the house, that she can leave without paying inheritance tax. By the way, if I wasn't married, if I left her everything and we're worth £1 million combined, well, I've just used up my inheritance tax allowance, so when she dies, she's only got £500,000 to leave to someone else, and she's going to be paying 40% on that. So that's 200 grand the marriage was worth. Pays for the ceremony, doesn't it? Right, one more, and then I'm going to have to get off here. Who was the lady there? Sorry, it was the lady over there. I apologise. I'm sorry, guys.
Hi, Martin. Sorry, I think I've probably got
Analysis paralysis.
So I've been looking at switching our current now.
Yeah.
Because we're with the Halifax and we don't get anything from them.
Yeah.
Quite interested in going to nationwide.
Yeah.
But I'm worried that our salaries won't get paid in, our benefits.
Yeah. Look, 7-day switching's been around a decade now. It's really, for the vast majority of people, the 98%, I can't promise. There's always one person that things go wrong for, but in the list of things people complain to me about, this isn't in the top 50, right? I still get some, because I've got a lot of complaints, not about me, but about, complaining about others. When you switch, your direct debits are automatically moved over. Your standing orders are automatically moved over for you. They close the old account, and for 5 years, they auto-forward any payments that go to it, right? You should still talk to your employer and all the important ones about moving them over yourself, but you won't miss them. There's only one thing they don't do, right, which is what's called a recurring payment. Does anyone know what a recurring payment is? So you know what a direct debit is? You know what a standing order is? That's when you tell the bank to pay. A recurring payment is when you set up a regular payment on a card using the long number, not using your bank account details or using a credit card. It's often used for subscriptions, online stuff, Netflix. Those are called recurring payments. Tough to spot, because what you're actually saying is, I give you permission to take a payment off my credit or debit card on a regular basis. There's no rules about it. You have a right to cancel them, but you should just be aware if you had any recurring payments from the old bank account, like a subscription, you would need to manually move that. That is it from me. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you.